Hello there, friends. It's Ashley here from the Loopy Lamb and the loopylamb.com. And today we are going to be doing crochet that looks like knitting. And I am so excited to share it with you today. This is a very simple beginner Tunisian crochet stitch called the Tunisian Knit Stitch. And it creates this absolutely beautiful fabric that looks just like knit. Creates these little V's. And if I didn't know any better, I'd say, wow, you knit that. To follow along with today's tutorial, you're going to need a worsted weight yarn of your preference and a size 6mm or J Tunisian hook. I'm not using a cable or anything. I'm just using a 6mm. So if you don't have a Tunisian hook and you're wanting to follow along, you can do this with a regular crochet hook. And if you love it, you can invest in some Tunisian hooks later. So let's get started. I am using Bravo worsted weight yarn from We Crochet. This swatch was also made with this. It works up beautifully, creates a really nice dense fabric, and just lovely and soft. So I'll link to that in the description box below in case anyone's interested in checking that out. So when you're doing Tunisian, you're going to start off with a base chain similar to regular crochet. So you're going to take your tail end yarn and you're going to create a slip knot. Like so. And then you're going to put that on your hook. Okay. Now, one of the differences between crochet and Tunisian is if I want to have 10 stitches in Tunisian, I'm going to create 10 chains. For 10 stitches in, say, single crochet, I would want to do 10 chains plus 1 for the turning chain. So I'd want a total of 11 chains. So for today's purposes, we're going to do 10 stitches. So you can do that with a regular crochet hook. So you're going to yarn over, pull through the loop. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now, the reason I'll have 10 stitches is because the loop that's on your hook after you've done your chain, that will count as your first stitch. So when you are working your foundation row, you're going to turn your chain so you can see those bumps on the back of the chain here. And you're going to work into the back bumps of your chain, and it creates this really nice bottom edge here, as you can see here, and it will match the top of your work. Now, if you're not a fan of crocheting into the back bump, or you're just nervous about doing that, you can crochet into the chain as you normally would. It just will affect the look of your starting edge. So not a huge deal, but if you want to have the bottom and the top of your work look the same, then you're going to need to work into that back bump. We're going to insert a hook into the back bump of the second chain from the hook. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. Now with Tunisian, you're not working these loops off your hook. You're going to start collecting them and keeping them on your hook. This is called the forward pass. So we're going to do what we just did again, but we're going to work into the third chain here. We're going to insert our hook into the back bump of that chain, yarn over, and pull up a loop. And we're going to do that all the way across our chain. Into the back bump, yarn over, pull up a loop. All right, so I'm just doing my last chain here. And if you take a moment and you count the loops that are on your hook, you'll count 10 loops. Now we're going to do the return pass here, and the return pass of our row 1. So to do that, we're going to yarn over hook, and we're going to pull that loop through the first loop here on your hook. It's kind of like a chain 1, okay? Then we're going to yarn over hook and pull through 2 loops. Then we're going to yarn over and pull through the next 2 loops. And we're going to do that all the way across our work. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Again, we're doing that all the way across. All right. And so that is our completed first row. Now you might see these little gaps and be like, Ashley, no, I've got these holes. Don't worry, that will be filled in. It's just your first row. And as you keep going, you will see that these holes get filled in and you will not end up with any of these at the end. You're just going to have a beautiful knit fabric. When we're looking at our completed first row, we're going to have to identify that we have these vertical bars. Okay, they go all the way across. You can see that I've got 10 of them. And when I turn my work and kind of stretch it open a little bit, you can see that I have a strand here on the back and a strand here on the front. To do the Tunisian knit stitch, we are going to be inserting our hook between those strands and out through the back of our work. Okay, so sorry, I noticed I went off screen. I'm going to do that again. So we're going to insert our hook between the front and back bars here. We're going to push it out through the back. And now you don't work into that very first bar. That is your edge stitch. And so you're going to identify the second vertical bar. Again, if it's helpful, I found this really helpful the first few times. When I was learning, I just couldn't figure it out. So stretch your piece out until you see that there's that front and back bar. You should have a gap in between them, and you're going to insert your hook between the two and then out through the back. Then you're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. Okay, now we're doing our forward pass. And again, we're going to be picking up those loops. We're not working them off yet. So we're going to insert again between that front and back bar, out through the back, yarn over, pick up a loop. And we're going to work this all the way across. When we get to the very last vertical bar, we have to do something a little different to create our edge stitch. And so I'll show you how to do that. So I'm at my edge stitch, and you can see it has a vertical bar, but when I turn it sideways, see if I can make it more obvious here, we have a front and back bar. Looks like a little V here. What we're going to do is we're going to insert a hook, and we're going to pick up both of those strands on our hook like this. This is how it should look. And then we're going to yarn over and pull up our loop. This helps to create your nice clean edge stitch. So you want to make sure that you're picking up both of those loops. So for our return pass, we're going to yarn over and pull through one loop. Okay, that's your chain one. And we're going to yarn over and pull through two. Yarn over and pull through two. And you're just going to do that all the way across. Yarn over, pull through two. Okay, so that is our first completed row. And it should look something like this. And you'll see that every time we finish a row, we have those gaps. And as we work, these gaps will fill in. So to do your subsequent rows of Tunisian knit stitch, you're going to repeat what we just did for the last row. You're going to insert between that front and vertical bar of the, you're going to skip this first one, work into the second, out through the back, yarn over, pull up a loop, into the next, yarn over, pull up a loop. Right. Now that I'm at my edge stitch, again, I'm going to pick up those two strands on the edge, yarn over and pull up one. And that's our forward pass completed. And then to finish our row, we're going to do our return pass by yarning over, pulling through one loop to create that chain up. Then we're going to yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two across the work. So you can kind of see that we're starting to get the V's forming in our fabric. You will likely see that you will have some curling in your piece, right? If I were to put that down, you can see it's curling. Tunisian stitches typically have a tendency to curl, so you will likely have to block this. If you are using an acrylic, like I am, the Bravo worsted, I like to steam block that. It does wonders for the yarn. And just as long as you're not touching the plate of your steamer to the yarn, this Brava can be steamed and it looks fantastic. So to continue with your knit stitch, you would continue doing the instructions I just showed you for the last 2 rows, the forward and the return pass. And then when your piece gets to its desired size, you're going to need to bind off. So I will show you how to do that now. So let's pretend this is a much bigger piece and I'm ready to finish off my work. I'm going to insert my hook into this second vertical bar, just like I'm going to do the knit stitch, right out through the back. Then I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to pull up a loop. And instead of keeping the loop on my hook, I'm going to pull it through. Oops, goodness, I dropped it. I'm going to pull it through the loop on my hook to create a slip stitch. And this is going to create that nice braided edge along the top. And we're going to do that into the next stitch. Between the 2 bars, out through the back, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull that loop through the loop on your hook. And do that all the way across. And again, when we get to the edge stitch, we're going to do something a little different. Now, as we're working this, it's filling in that gap at the top of my work. So that way we will not have a gap at the top of our work anymore. All right, so now we are at the last stitch. That is our edge stitch. Again, we're going to work under that, both of those bars, picking them up, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then you're just going to pull that loop through your hook, through the loop on your hook, sorry. And then if I were finished, I would just cut my yarn, chain up 1, and pull it all the way through, and I'd be all set. And I would steam this, and it would be a beautiful Tunisian knit stitch piece. So if you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave them in the comment section below. And I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to my channel. If you like free crochet patterns, please check out my blog, theloopylamb.com. Thanks so much for watching, friends. Happy hooking, and I'll see you next time.